we're quite fine. We're live on
Okay.
Facebook. We're live on. Dr. Mandlesilo, can you first correct us on your correct name? On the book you are Sipho, but igama lakho li-real ungubani? Sihamba kunye. Angiphinde sithele. Yeah, are you there?
Your sound. Can you hear my sound?
Yeah, I can hear your sound very clearly.
I can't hear you now.
Okay, sure. Let me do this. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Okay, it's like, I don't know, it's like your mic is off or something. You're speaking, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Not at all. I-headphones. Zezami ezikuwe. Kaniphezu. Yes, sir. Hello. You still can't hear me? There's a this is problematic.
This is mute, bad. Maybe your mic.
My mute is on. My mute is fine, and
yeah, no, it's like your mic. It's like your mic.
This is my mic is so on me, bro. But Utulan says my audio is perfect. This is another day. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Nothing. We have to right before. Gomez Kala, you were perfect. Before you connected to his earphones and stuff, you were fine. Until mixing, it's completely off.
Indlela endikuva clear ngayo. I can hear you so clearly. You are so clear, kum.
Still nothing. And then we are divine. On the side, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can't hear anything. Your sound is completely cut off.
But Utulani can hear me. Uthulani uthi uyandiva. Undiva kakuhle, but when you can't hear me. This is strange. But let's continue. But it's strange.
It's just the sound cut.
Viewers can hear me on Facebook and YouTube, and they can also hear you. But the problem is that you can't get me. That is very strange.
I can't hear you. Your sound is completely cut off. It's like you're on mute. Can't hear a thing. You know what? Maybe you must speak and then ask someone to listen on Facebook and see me.
Yeah,
Tulane on my side.
Tulane is listening on both. Can you try and put your earphones?
For me, or the earphones. My iPhone doesn't allow for earphones, so
okay.
Unless then I'll have to use an iPad. Then I'm using an iPhone, but it doesn't allow for earphones.
So when's the iPad?
Unless then I can open it on the iPad where I can use the
yeah, I pull an iPad.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me try that.
Continue. Problem is that we can't hear each other. I know our viewers can hear us. You can hear us on Facebook. You can hear us on YouTube. But the problem is that Doc cannot hear me. So it will be very difficult for us to continue if we can't get each other. I'm sorry for that. We're trying to sort that out. But in the meantime, let's do something. Let's do something interesting, especially for our viewers, because we did.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, I wonder. You must pray, my man. you must pray because everyone can hear me. Facebook and YouTube, they can hear me, but you can't hear me. I'm struggling. Yeah, you said number 8 out of 8 kids, and
number 7. Yes.
Yeah, and then I don't even know where we were before this.
We're about to move to Mount Elief.
Hello?
We're about to move to Mount Elief.
Yes. Before we move to Mount Elief, your book is entitled Confessions of a Pastor's Kid.
Yeah.
And then you said you lived in abject poverty after he started hitting the call.
Yeah.
Is it because he didn't make enough preparation, or the call was so urgent that he took his bag and literally left immediately without preparing for into by 8 upper 1 2 3 anyone else? Maybe you can also get the same call. There are lessons that are supposed to be learned from that situation.
Yeah. You know, I think is into the way at that time people the way they were doing things. So that time, you can be a pastor and then you can be a teacher and be a pastor and be an engineer. So at that time, when you get a calling from God, you the way they were doing it was that you had to leave everything behind. So you leave your job and everything, and you will live by faith, basically. You'll be fed by ravens. That's how they were doing it. Look, I can't say it was the wrong way of doing things or it was the right way of doing things, but there are lessons that obviously the past and the history is there so that we can learn from it. I always say, whenever I'm asked this question, I always say the advice I have to all the people who hear the calling from God and they need to go and start a church, I always say to them, please try to have an alternative source of income. Don't rely on the church.
Don't rely on the church.
Don't rely on the church. Have an alternative source of income. Start a business if you need to. If you really have to leave your job, and And the other thing is, not everybody who's called by God has to leave their job immediately. Some people, they have to continue working, and then until the church is too big now that they can't do both jobs, that they have to, maybe you have to do counseling during the weekend. You must go and preach and all these things, and you're very busy, you know. And at that time, it's usually when the church in numbers have picked up so much that you have to do that. But initially, when you're still starting and you're still having like 20 members, my advice would be continue working and try to do both of them, so that you don't your family, they don't have to bear the brunt of accepting the calling. In this case, when he says it's that he's been trying to avoid it for a very long time. It was an urgent matter. In fact, he says to us, it was a matter of life and death. You know, the way things were happening, the way God wanted him to leave everything. So, it finally did bear fruits. I must say, it finally did bear fruits. But looking back, whether to say things could have been done differently,
yeah, but I was looking at the situation where your sister at age 13 couldn't take the pain anymore. Then she started to see what she can do, because she was the eldest. Then she wanted to provide for all of you. I think we can do better to try and avoid those things. But let's move with this little boy. You are a little boy. You say you are 1.8 meters now, but you also but you're a giant. Then you guys shifted to Mount Elif, which is another from a rural area in Bizana to another rural area in Mount Elif.
Yeah.
Take us through the life in Mount Elif.
So when we arrived in Mount Elif, so umfundisi at that time were either like what we call a mission, you know, which is like a place that's already say prepared and everything, or in our case, you will actually be given a place to stay somewhere. It's not a mission while you're still making preparation, so that it was to move to the mission. So for us, we moved to Mzilomdu, and then we stayed there. But I must say, and I also to tell in the book that I thought where we moved to that place, it's called Mtechwane, Mount Elif. It was actually nicer than where I was coming from. You know, it was looking more like a more township or suburb of some sort, because of I saw mentions, you know, the Galibon does never run, and I didn't see this does never run before, you know, and the garages and all of that. I was like, oh, okay. So when we where we were going to stay was actually way nicer than where we were coming from, Ekaya. And that gave me a false impression that things are going to be okay here. I thought it was the end of that cycle of poverty for me when we moved there. Legally, I know that as long as the churches they had not picked the numbers, we were still going to suffer, because when we were going to school, I remember we were not even a single one of us could afford shoes. So we traveled a distance of about 10 kilometers going to school. And it was very far. I was young. I was 6 years old. And for me, even the name of Lenda also attended with school was called the Junior Secondary School, but the name of Ilali also attended, it was called Ngonyameni. I don't know who decided to call it as Ngonyameni. I mean, that's a scary name. So scary. So I moved there at the age of 6. Then I started to grade 1 at the age of 6. For me, I thought I'd escaped from poverty, but it was actually when I went to school where I noticed that, you know, I'm still back to square one, because it's going to say to Mtupana. In fact, it was not even a junior at that time. It was a primary. I remember grade 4, standard 2. And it building game 1 queuing with a mud structure, and then as the new classes that's get a museum. So I remember grade 1 way to there was no tank for water, there were no toilets, there were no toilets, there was no electricity, there were no facilities. You know, you could just tell these people who just wanted to abandon Bafunde. But when we arrived, it was in a bad shape, I must say. It was a place where you wouldn't expect anything good to come out of that place. You know, that's how I can put it.
And then we were doing grade 1. There was no preschool for you, Mos. You were not privileged.
No. I-crash at that time, but i-crash abantu who can afford it. But mainly abantwana betishala, who could afford the crash now.
But umntakamfundisi fondini, umntakamfundisi sasimjonga umuntu omkhulu Mos umfundisi.
Well,
now
initially, because my dad initially was not a pastor, so I used to see Mfundisi Wetopizana. My fear to me, it was like, oh, these kids are celeb. So I was actually looking forward to that when I heard my father's going to be a pastor. I thought it's all claim and it's a life of being a celeb and all of that, but it's actually not that at all. It's not a nice life, I must say. It's got its own disadvantages. Yeah. If you don't manage them well, you can go to the wrong side. If you know how to manage them well and use them to your advantage, and with the grace of God, it can actually move to the other side. Yeah.
I see. There is this thing you keep mentioning, that your dad was very strict in the sense that you needed to protect the family name. Whatever you do in the street, wherever you go, it will actually backfire or reflect back at home. How much of a burden is that?
Look, as I interact with other pastors' kids, I noticed that it's something that is common to all of us. All pastors' kids will tell you that there is that thing of protecting the name, protecting the name of the pastor, the name of the church. So all pastors' kids will tell you that, like, whatever they do, I always say that they grow under a microscope. Everybody's watching them, whatever step you do. For me, what didn't make sense was how it was always connected that whatever I do is going somehow. My father always had a way of finding out. Someone will always go and tell him, Mandlesilo bedlala phana abanye abantwana washo this way the vulgar. And then to umntana kamfundisi wonke usho igama elivulgar. So our mistakes, I would say, they're always amplified. You couldn't make a mistake as umntana. As you are growing through different stages, you were not allowed to make those mistakes, because you had to sort of live this life of being an angel, and as you grow up, you actually live in that sphere, and then you one day you are hoping for that day when you're going to go to a high school or a university. Then they are gonna see your true colors, because all this time you were living as an ideal pastor's kid. This pastor's kid that I think all parents, or most pastors, most parents who are pastors, they do that, whether knowingly or unknowingly. They create this child, this ideal, perfect child, and then the child who's living must fit into that ideal picture that's been created, and they can't be themselves, they can't be real. And then they are going to explode the day they go to high school, outside of their parents, outside of the influence. Then they show their true colors. Then that's when, if you can go to a university now and say, show me who's a pastor's kid. If you want to be one person who's by 5, 15 like umuntu wants to experiment. They want to experiment. They want to show their true colors now, because abazali were just observing them. They are no longer around. That is the danger for me with the pastor's kids, and it's common to most pastor's kids.
Oh, that's a wonderful lesson. And then when did you notice that there's a beast in you, in terms of the mental gift? At what grade did your father notice, or did you notice that I'm not an ordinary student, I'm actually gifted, I'm top class?
I think in grade 1 I was like other kids. There was nothing special with me. As you said, that there was no preschool or anything. I went straight to grade 1. But then I noticed grade 1. Okay, let me go back the way we're calling you to sub A. That's how we're calling it.
Yeah.
Sub A. So sub A was actually divided. A omncane, A ophakathi, A omkhulu. So maybe you do the whole year, depending on how fast then you'll repeat. The only thing I remember with me was that I was able to do other A ball in 1 year, because I did that in all of that 1989, and then I was able to go to sub B. So but I still I was still very young to see whether there's anything special with me. And I remember even when I was doing USAP B, USAP B, there was also nothing special with me because I remember there was a day after I missed this call and I class in the, and then I don't know what was going on. But what I remember is that wasn't Buya. The following day, the fear so balloon we test, and then Pala is never the day when you come. So we're doing biblical studies, and then biblical studies go boost against cause. The question is why Pula don't uyopi? That was the question. Why Pula don't uyopi? So now I'm in Sabi, uyopi bani, and like and that's why uyopi logo bani. So the fakexesha ukubhalwayo phala question ba umizimane nifunde kahle le question why ade ayifunde oral wayigula intoni uyophi ndeva abantu bebhala ndeva abantu bekhala ndaqomba oh daso ndayibamba okay uyophi wayenomqala wayigula nomqala abhala lemboya wayiphethe ngomqala yo so in fact ndingekayiqondi kakuhle ukuthi kwenzakalani and then I think when I was doing standard one, yeah, when I was doing standard one, they started to see, but no, this guy, and then when I was doing standard two, that's when it was obvious because I was just way ahead. And you then I must say this. I'm just saying maybe for a parent who's watching, maybe to see, but I don't need that maybe could make me to be different from other kids, besides the fact that I was gifted. My parents, they didn't want me to play soccer when I was growing up. Because those kids will corrupt me. So soccer. So and then I had to discover a new hobby, and the new hobby for me was to read books. I loved reading books, like your Xhosa novels. You can mention as many Xhosa novels as you can think. I read them when I was still very young. So what I did was, in novels zonke ezazifundwa maybe from grade 3 going up to matric, ndazifunda zonke ndizigqibile while I'm still in standard 2, and then move and the English. So that thing, it opened my mind, it gave me a lot of vocab, and then that ahead of other kids because figure siya standard 3 awufika ukunikezwa incwadi ezofunda inovels nedrama nentoni ezofunda mina sekudala ndazifunda
so phambili
Lord gave me, and it opened my mind also because when you read books, it opens your mind. So it opened my mind, Landia, and then that ahead of other kids. But then when I was doing standard 2, but I'm too smart for standard 2. That means standard 2, standard 3, that means only for a few months. Then let me jump to go to standard 4. Then I jumped down standard 4. I figured
were you the only one who jumped the standard 3, or they took you as with your number 1 and number 2?
I was not the only one. So what they were doing that time, they were trying to extend because it's called, and I was standard 4 at that time. So, but if you extend, if you be junior, so junior, about 5, 6, and 7. So, and remember, standard 7 at that time your standard 7 was a big deal. It was external actually. So standard 7 was like metric. In fact, there were even people like standard 7. I think you were even getting a certificate standard 7. It was a big thing. Not everybody was progressing high school, but standard 7 was like a year. So for school standard 7, it was like a big thing. So they were pushing, which is standard 5 that year, then the following year standard 6, the following standard 7. So what they did for them, which was standard 5, but had some other kids, but had some kids that they thought were smart, and then even in other grades, they were progressing. So those were in standard 3, standard 4. Then those were standard 4, they went to standard 5. So I went with other kids. I think we were about 3 when we were jumping to standard 4. But again, obviously, nothing and I took the because I think it was around March when I jumped to standard 4. And then I think I caught up with them, and then afterwards double ruler. So I was really gifted. I noticed at an early age, which I'm really gifted, yes.
And one other interesting aspect in the book is that you started preaching at the same age as Jesus. What was your father doing? Was it a gamble, or was Quintansi? Why Bonandonu did? Why did they give
I really appreciated the way they were doing it. So we had a Sunday school, and we Sunday school, that's when they were teaching us. So to preach or to testify, just for you to stand in front of the people. They will practice that when we're in Sunday school. So what they will do in Sunday school, then they will divide us, and then they will say, when you're going to share the word, you always said that you had options. They will say, you can take the Bible and just read the passage, and then you say you're not going to explain it. It was allowed. And then those who were daring, then you'll be allowed to say a few things, So I was always, so for me, what gave me advantage over other kids was that since I enjoyed reading, my dad noticed that I enjoyed reading the Bible. So for me, Bible, Mafunda go Genesis, it's like a novel. It's the stories there are so beautiful. Mafunda, the stories about Joseph, the stories about Jacob. It's like a novel. It's so beautiful. So I was captivated by that. So I spent time reading the Bible, and I was not reading it to preach, or I was eating it as the word of God. No, for me, I was reading it like a novel.
You were academic about it.
And then my dad noticed I was always bothering him with his Bible. So he bought me a Bible at a younger age, and also that gave me an advantage. So then, but when he was giving me to preach, though, he was not gambling, because he could tell already that I was really good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for you to be able to be a good preacher, you must be a good reader of the word. If you don't read the word, then there's nothing
you cannot preach.
Say in front of the people.
Then the congregation will sleep.
Me, I was always like reading the Bible, and then when I'm asked to stand in front of the people, then when I preach about something, I'll preach about something that I know. And I was very young, so that thing was captivating about wow, and I know the story and all those things. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice thing to share. And then there's another situation that appeared like a burden. Your father is a pastor, your mother is also a pastor equally.
Yeah.
And then there are people from various communities who ended up joining your family to be healed and so on. There are quite a few stories that are narrated in the book that of people who actually stayed over to be healed. There's an interesting scenario of someone who had epilepsy. Usindiswa. So that's not Usindiswa had epilepsy, and now you are a doctor. Is it an easy thing? You are a scientist, you are a doctor, you've got someone with epilepsy, you grew up with a prayer and you believe in prayer like I do. And what would you do now if someone would throw a fit? Do you pray or give Valium?
So that's a very interesting question. I like that question a lot, because it just puts everything into perspective. So I always tell the people at church that guys, when I'm here at church, I'm here in Zokonza, the Kumzalwane. And if someone is sick, we pray for the person. So I'm gonna pray for you if you come at church and you are sick, whatever illness, I'll pray for you at church. But if you have a fit in the hospital, I'm not like in a church situation there. I'm a medical doctor. I try to separate these two things. So I'll give you Valium, I'm in the hospital, but if it's in the church and we are told and everything, and then you start being sick there, obviously it's going to depend on the kind of sickness that we have, obviously. I mean, if you're asthmatic and you need an asthma pump, obviously, it's not like I'm not going to pray for you. It's something that is, but I'm just saying, epilepsy, it's interesting. One thing they need to understand is that science and religion, they don't always clash as we think they clash. For example, Luke in the Bible was a medical doctor. The person who wrote the book of Luke, he was a medical doctor. And it's so beautiful how Luke, when he's when he's explaining the conditions about and
all the medical conditions that he encountered.
Yeah, maybe someone will come with epilepsy and all of that. So I read a study Bible, an NIV study Bible, and then they talk about the instance where they brought someone with epilepsy to Jesus, and then Jesus cast out the demons. And I love the way they put it in the study Bible. When they explained, they said not all epilepsies are caused by demons, but this one was because of a demonic possessions. Because what can happen is you can have a car accident, you have a head injury, and then that part of the brain that's damaged, it becomes a scar. Then you have a scar epilepsy. It's not a demonic force. It's something that's physical, that is there. But all the doctors will tell you that we've got idiopathic cases. We've got patients that come with epilepsy. It starts.
You can't
it's not
explain
even a child with epilepsy. It starts now that I'm old. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't have any condition. I just start having seizures, and it becomes epilepsy. And we do all sorts of tests in the world. We can't find what is the cause, and then we call it idiopathic. You can tell that even the doctors, the science itself, they don't have all the answers.
Yes.
Yeah, there are those ones that are caused by the demonic attacks, and it's up to you as a person where you have to discern and say, is this condition a demonic it's demonic thing, or is it something that is physical that needs like a physician? Yeah.
I see, but I like your closing sentence on the case,
Yeah.
Kasindi. So you say people should not ignore taking
Yeah.
their chronic medication, and so that's a very nice closing statement. As a doctor, as spiritual as we are, but we are
Yes.
also scientists, which is very difficult sometimes to balance. But you've actually done it very well, especially if you look in the perspective of
Yeah.
noting that the guys were struggling to actually control the person with epilepsy until Jesus
Yeah.
himself
Yeah.
made the diagnosis and told
Yeah.
them why they failed to actually heal the guy.
Yeah.
Is it easy to keep so many strangers and people in the pastor's home? You get this batch this week, and then there's another batch this week, and then it's an endless thing. There will always be visitors. There will always be people who are coming for healing, and you have to love and support all these people all along. How tough is that?
Look, I think I love how things are being done now, especially in the cities. I don't know how it is in the rural areas, but in the cities, what I love now is that a pastor has a home. A pastor stays wherever he's staying, and then there's a church. A church even has offices, and sometimes there could be even people who are staying in the church. And the pastor, when he needs to meet people, he goes to the office, and then he meets people in the office, and then he prays for people there, and then he can come home to his home. His home is not a mission, so his home, his wife is there, his kids are there. He's at home. It's like you when you're not at work, you are at your home. And it helps so that line is not blurred, that boundary between the home and the church is not blurred, because I thought for me it was very difficult, and I could even say traumatic for us as Abantwana to always have to adjust with these people that they would come. The pastors back in the days, they didn't have this thing that they would pray for you now, you get healed now. If you don't get healed, God is not working now. They were very patient. You could come with the disease, and then you would sit there for like 6 months
here
while they pray for you. And what I love is not even a single person who came so that my father could pray for him, who left, who was not healed. I don't care how much it took, but everybody ultimately would get healed ultimately. So, but it was a burden for us as Abantwana, because now we have to adapt to this person. And remember, I said the economic situation was not fine.
Yeah.
Was not fine with Asima Ninzi kind. Now you have to bring another person. And when they bring these people there, because we say mission, they always assume that there's food, there's everything.
Yeah.
They never contributed. Like most of them didn't contribute anything. They would actually sort of like dump you, if I can put it that way. They dump you there in mission, then they leave you, and then they will come and get you. Master bonus all right, too right, and they will come and collect you. So it was very difficult. It was not an easy thing, and for me, because my dad had this gift of praying for people for healing and deliverance ministry. He had that healing and deliverance ministry, and the people that will come, were not your normal people who come with like, oh, I've got a chest pain, oh, I've got a headache.
Yeah.
It was people that were demon possessed, and people that are demon possessed, when the demon starts to manifest, they do funny things. They throw themselves on the ground, and they want to injure themselves. So now my duty, at that age, at the age of 6, my duty was to hold imilenze. You can imagine that we are tenders and up and then
But the nice thing is that you're witnessing.
It was not easy.
I hope you have inherited that healing power, because now you'll be very powerful. You'll be healing them as a physician academically, and also as a physician spiritually. You are a real beast.
Look, man. I didn't believe that. In fact, the things of God with inheritance. They don't always go hand in hand. It doesn't mean because there's David, Solomon would be like David, powerful like David. Solomon could like go astray and have 700 wives.
Yeah.
It doesn't always mean that Solomon is going to be a man after God's heart like David and all of that. It doesn't always go that way. I mean, but strangely for me, I've inherited, if I can put it that way, that gift of healing and deliverance, and And because I'm a medical doctor, it took me such a long time and a lot of struggling with it to finally reach an acceptance. But really, this gift is there because for me, most of my things, they happen in the dreams. So God showed me stuff in the dreams, So I would have these dreams where I was praying for people
You are like Joseph.
that are sick. And I thought initially it was because of those scenarios where my dad would be praying for people in Bambi Millions. I thought it's because of that. Little did I know, by that time, in Bambi Millions, there was a transference of power for my father when he's praying for the people because I was always around him. Somehow that gift got transferred to me, and as I'm saying, because I'm a medical doctor, it was also very difficult. It was only when I moved to this church and attended Kuyogo HMST Apostolic Faith Mission, where my pastor spotted the gift. When I went there, I used to go there and sit at the back. I was like an ordinary guy, nothing like special about me, and I stayed at the back. And then he actually noticed there was something different with me. And then he asked that I must pray for people. And now, for me, that was funny because, I think that dream will come almost like once every week, weekly. I'll get that dream where I'm praying for people, people, and then they're getting healed and all of that. I don't know, like something in me was just not accepting. But no, this is what God wants you to do. I always thought this is the past. It was only when my Pastor Petro from HMST, where he said, I want you to start laying hands on the people. And I was very reluctant to do that also because, I'd seen it when it was happening before and all of that. It was something sacred to me. I believe that not everyone should go and just lay hands on the people. My dad used to say, if when you are praying for a person and the doctor knows you're not powerful, then what you are praying for, that thing can actually come to you. So I used to be so scared of putting my hands on the people. So I'm praying for them. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I was a bit reluctant. But when I started doing it, and then I started getting testimonies, then they would come. But I want to know, Tata, you prayed for me, and now I'm sure I was like, oh, this thing is really happening.
That's great.
So I've inherited that gift, and as you are saying, which is, I'm very smart with how I do things in the church. I'm like a pastor, if you can put it that way, or pastor in training. I do things in that way. But when I'm in the hospital, I'm a doctor. I'm a full medical doctor in the hospital. I don't mix the two. I try not to mix the two as much as I can. And in the book, that's why I actually put that disclaimer there about epilepsy, because I didn't want someone who's they look at this medical doctor.
That's very responsible. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then you built a church and nearly banned it. you built. I mean, you woke up every day 6 o'clock, a young boy, and then one day you're carrying a matchstick, and then you nearly burned everything, you nearly destroyed everything in one night.
No, Pastor's kid. That story that's there is just trying to show that pastor's kids are the same as other kids, mischievous like other kids, like doing all banana like other kids. There's nothing different with them when they're still growing, there's nothing different with them. So I think you also in the that day. I don't know what got into me where I'm that kind when the board mentioned the lighter pan, I was Uchana and then the lighter, and obviously Umas Kali was there, and when I talk about Umas Kali, so Umas Kali represents this
Umas Kali on the paternal side, ne?
Sorry. No, Umas Kali is not related to us. Umas Kali, it's a member of the church who made it. Yeah, Umas Kali is a member of the church who made it an assignment and a mandate that is going to look at pastor's kids and will report everything that's happening to the pastor and will always like remind you, when she's talking to you about and then some of them will be threats. I want to talk about you understand? I mean, he was always doing that. And I remember I put in the book a scenario whereby uMaskali one two mandiyami ndiyeko mnyumzi kwakhona efuna ndoyithatha khona but lo mzi wawukude, it was far and kwakhona izinja khona and I was young, so I was like, no, I can't do it, it's too far. So she said, okay, it's fine. And it was after my dad had just bought me a book. I think it was like a month after my dad had bought me a book. And then only to find that Yena is going to go to my dad and is going to say, to tell my dad how I disrespected her as an adult. I was sent and I refused and I'm setting a bad example. So everything was always like amplified and it's always big. And now I'm sitting there and like my dad like is telling me all these things about, you know, I thought no right to take a pipe, you know, you're like you are a bad kid.
I'll not beg.
So but like what I was saying is most pastors' kids will tell you, they will tell you there's always that one person that makes it a mission. And I just hope if you are that person, please stop it. Like please, it's you cause trauma to pastors' kids. Like
and
I'm sure there's a
that's the essence of the talk. There are many pastors' kids who are watching you. There are many young doctors and young wishing of future doctors who are actually watching you. There are a number of people who are still going through what you went through. So sharing your lessons and your experiences will actually inspire a lot of other people. And one thing we're trying to show as Apile Communication is that irrespective of your background, irrespective of your situation, you can always overcome any situation, especially if you walk with God. Never lose hope, never be discouraged, and never ever doubt yourself. Self-confidence, it begins with you. And then there's you started writing some love letters. I was laughing at that because I didn't know that the vocab you're using in Mount Eliff was similar to the vocab you're using in Tata.
It was a universal love.
Where did this thing come from? These nice, well-crafted letters, and then it ended up with your dad.
Yeah. So when we were growing up, there was a stage. I don't know what was happening, but there was a stage where we all wanted to write letters to girls and all of that. And we whenever you write a letter, you know, you get to put in a certain format that was acceptable, you know, in the settings. I mean, in that time. So you would just write your normal address. No, you have to write some words. So you would say a golden cup was broken by means of love. That was the address that you put there. And then the other one was saying Adam and Eve sitting in Eden. They were enjoying love. You know, you are writing all that, and they were just teaching each other all these weird things. And then for me, I had this friend of mine who was
delivery boy.
Sorry,
your delivery boy.
Yeah, he was. I had this guy that I still think it was God who sent him somehow, because this guy, he was from a very rich family. He was not gifted that much here in terms of his school. So I saw God. Yeah. And I'm coming and God had helped me.
You are brilliant.
And so we had an agreement, you know, a gentleman's agreement. We help him with his homework.
Academically.
And then he's going to supply me with lunch, because at that time there was no lunchbox. I went just schooling with no money and with no lunchbox. So and remember, I said schooling we're going to matanki. So like you had to fend for yourself when I was very young. Can you imagine when I was like 10 or 11 going to such a situation? So but that guy, one $1. I was $1. I must say that every day, because he was rich. You know, I paid £2. You only £2 at that time.
It was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, because get £2 you were able to buy a quarter, and then the quarter had the poloni, and you know, had the ram and the poloni, and you were able to buy drink also get £2 as a two. So that was like that was so but he also influenced me in a bad way, because we are always like started to get so he always say approach that girl, you know. I kept on refusing because we're friends, you know.
Peer pressure.
The birds of the same feather fly together. So because we're like always together, then I'll creep in that thing until Namge that finally showed me the girl that I should write a letter to. So I wrote a letter to this girl. So this girl, why in the same school, Nachi? Why was in school? And then I wrote this letter, and then the one of the guys, Sunday school.
What is this thing of not? What is this thing of not delivering letters yourselves? Why does the letter have to go through so many chains?
No, remember, Pella, we are also scared now. You are not the confidence of approach. That's why you're writing a letter from the start. Because if in the lab class, you were writing a letter, so you didn't have that confidence. Yes, and also a letter, it was like, it was like an email, if I can put it that way. So it was like something that's a bit more formal, where you are declaring your undying love, So, so because of this guy, but as I this lady, I don't know when this guy walibala ejakethini yakhe, and then umama wakhe xa ehlamba impahla wayibona le letter, and umama wakhe happened to be someone who's high up there in terms of yes, and go to it. So instead of by yena andize, angcolise, like I don't know, what is about the best way to do. Let me just take this letter. So why kumfundisi letter, and yeah, I became a disaster. Hey, my dad was so disappointed. Like you, when you read that letter, I mean, I was so ashamed. Can you imagine those things I wrote there? I mean, I actually think that was an invasion of privacy. That letter was a matter between two people. It shouldn't have been made public the way it was done. I should have sued them for that. For breach of privacy.
Then take us to you moved from. That was a nice share, because I mean, what I like about your book. And hence I saw it that it was real.
Yeah.
It's you were able to be a kid at some stage, and at the same time you had to abide to the principles of being a pastor's kid and so on, and you went through all these things, sharing your space with everyone who happens to be at home. And then at some stage you finished whatever was there in Mount Elif. You had to be taken to Flagstaff for your high school.
Yeah,
because you had good grades. You had an aspiration to go to St. John's, but it never happened.
Oh, St. John's was like, I think, St. John's College in Mthatha was different. What was making it to be different is because it was located in Mthatha. So Mthatha was like the city of Transkei. And you were able to get to the stadium. It's like a triangle with escalators, a mall. It was there, and and Mthatha Airport. So it was a city, So it's like if Funde Mthatha, it was like you've moved from. It's more like Funde overseas. It was the biggest thing ever. So for me, it wasn't just the St. John's College itself that it was. Besides the fact that I had friends of mine who went to study there, and then when they come back, then they'll be telling me about and like creating all this hype around it. And then my sisters also, so when they come back, they will be singing songs in English. They were so good in these English songs, and I was like, but I really wanted to go to St. John's, but it just didn't happen. It was just not happening. For some strange reason, I had really good grades, but so I ended up going to Flagstaff. And
I also,
that's where I studied.
Just before you go to Flagstaff, I also see that you nearly became a Model C.
Hey! You see, that layer part of nearly being a Model C, you had the head t-shirt, because it was one of the things that made me to understand, but I'm actually a pastor's kid, because there, and that's the thing, school Harding, you're going to get a school from a college, and everybody was like, yo, man, Simphiwe is so smart and all of that. He needs to go to that school. So I was looking forward to go there. And when they saw my grades there, they were interested. They wanted to take me. And for me, I thought the financial side is being taken care of. I didn't know about nobody's taking care of that. And your English, they were speaking like Tony Play, they come with that English, and I was like, you can imagine from the rural area to being a Model C like kid. I was like, yeah, it's finally happening. But I was disappointed when there was no one who was stepping in and volunteering. Not even maybe one person. Maybe I thought maybe the church, because I mean, I was really gifted at the time. Like, I'm looking back, like I was really, really gifted. I thought someone would look at this and say, let's give this guy a best chance. A best chance, but it didn't happen. So I was really disappointed, and I was like, I started playing God. I was like, if my dad was still a manager, he was going to be able to afford this school for me. And because I'm a pastor's kid, I'm depending on Abazalwana for survival and everything. It's not happening. I was really hurt, but there were lessons to be learned in Flagstaff. I learned You know, like what I can say to a person who's watching at home, the problems that you go through and the troubles that you go through, they shape you, they make you to be a different person.
Wonderful.
All these painful things that you go through, the painful situations, they shape you, they make you to be a matured person, a different person, and they humble you and they make you to look at life in a different way. So I went through what I went through, flex stuff and everything, but that really made me to be a man. You know, it was a transition from a boy to be a man, and it really helped me, I must say. It was painful at the time, but there was a reason for me to go through all of that. So I just want to say to you at home, there's a reason now that you are going through what you're going through. It's not going to end like that. It's not going to end in a bad note. God is going to come to you. He's going to come to a situation. I'm also a preacher, so that thing kicks in at times.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's why I've been after you. That's good. That's very good, because some people can get discouraged and then they get lost on the way.
Yeah.
Those are very powerful words. In fact, that is why you are here, to inspire the nation and to make sure that everyone who had lost hope has got that hope can only be. God works through people like you.
Yeah.
You went to stay in a suburb in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
You had suburban life there.
Yeah. Oh, there it was a case of Jimmy going to Joburg. If I can describe it, it was a different atmosphere, like Sihlale town, you know, and there was like electricity, you know. I remember the first time this year to the bathroom, I had to ask one of my cousins to come and show me how to flush. I've never seen I've never seen a toilet flush. I mean, let alone even the fact that the toilet is empty. That thing for me was still like very strange. Also, okay, toilet is empty. Like I said, I need to go I need to go to the toilet, and then I thought I was going to show me the way. For Asimakaya, when you need to go to the toilet, you usually shown the way, and it's like a kilometer away.
It's far.
Yeah, it's far. So the fact that essentially it was like so different, and you know, it was a very different life, I must say.
It's your mother's brother, ne?
Yeah. It's my mother's brother. So when I arrived there, and you know, things were with the way they changed. They changed so drastic. Like I had to learn, you know, to survive in that. But it didn't last. I must say, you know, it didn't last. We stayed there for very few months, and then that house was actually leased to government entity. To go back to West Lali. It's more like my life. I always somehow find myself as Lali, no matter what I do. Like when I think I've escaped, I go back to West Lali. So I went back to West Lali. Yeah.
Temporary freedom, and then again you go back to the same condition.
Exactly. Yeah.
And at high school, how was high school academically?
Oh, I was excelling there. I was initially, I must put it that way. Initially, when I was doing standard 8, grade 10. Yeah, when I was doing grade 10. Yeah, I was excelling. You know, I remember my test, like biology, like I'll get 100 out of 100. Like I was really gifted. But then I went into depression. And I didn't even know that there is depression. By the way, for people who are watching at home, depression exists. It's not a disease or a condition that is seen everywhere. And let's not wait until umntana as a point about life. So if you start seeing changes and then umntana starts to be withdrawn, you know, start to stop, he hope his ends, starts to lose appetite and is just staying alone and all of that. Please get a child professional help, and please let us not try you're going to take the child out of depression yourself. It needs professional help. So please get professional help. Psychologists are there for that. Psychiatrists are there for that. Doctors are there for that. For me, I think that time I was depressed. I had all the symptoms of depression. But because then nobody really could pick it what was going on with me. And it affected me badly. You know, I remember by the time I was going to grade 11, you know, I had already moved from being an A student down to being an F student, if you could put it that way. You know, and thinking back, I think it's something maybe that could have just been sorted if I had gotten professional help at an early age, and all those problems could be avoided. So, I did very well, excelling, but I lost my way along the way, and even Nangi at that time, then that age, I'm 14, 15, around there, don't send a teenager. So then I started to be rebellious, you know. I can say for me to be where I am, it's a grace of God. Yeah, when I was in high school, things could have taken like a Western. I could have ended like being in the West position, but it was the prayers of Abazalwan, the prayers of my parents that were able to take me through. So if you have a friend now, we must pray for your friends, pray for Abantwana Bakho, pray for people that are around you, because you don't know when their faith is down and out, your faith can actually lift them up. I think that's what happened to me when I was in high school, because it was the faith of my parents and Abazalwan that actually pulled me out of the situation, and I was able to finish. Yeah.
And then painfully, you had to leave the high school in Flagstaff, and then you had to be brought closer to your parents, and then you ended up starting a new school for your grade 12. How easy was the adjustment?
That was very difficult, and I was late actually that time. I was in Kala. I think was around late February, early March. Yeah, early March. The time in your Kala, so I lost already. That first those first 3 months already, I had lost them, and also my subjects that I was doing in geography and maths, and then when I was going, I was doing agriculture and maths. I'd never done geography in high school. That was standard 7 or grade 9, and now it's in metric. And every time they teach, they always say, "You remember what we did last year?" And I was like, so like playing. I didn't know what they were. So I had to work extra hard for geography for me to pass it. And also, I was back to staying with my parents. Something that I didn't done for about 2 years, and then I was back to being like a pastor's kid again, you know, with all those things happening. But I think for me, it was also a way for God to intervene in my life. I don't think I would have finished. There were just a lot of things happening in Flagstaff. There were demonic attacks, you know, when I was in Flagstaff. I was also demon possessed at some point. Though I didn't know, I thought I was faking. It was only when they prayed for me when real things started to manifest. So there are a lot of things happening there. But me going back to a Mount Leaf, but God always sends you people, will always send you people that are going to help you to adjust, because there were people that actually helped me when I arrived there. You know, they helped me to adjust. And I had an advantage when I arrived in Mount Leaf, because I noticed something that where I was in Flagstaff, izinto besozenza in grade 12, but Mount Leaf, I noticed they were putting a lot of emphasis on their grade level, standard 9. So I'd done those things, and that gave me advantage, and then Jan booster again, and made me to have the confidence, and then I became an A student again. I did so well, you know. I was that student that was like, and you remember, Mofika class in Mofika, you're getting good grades. There are kids that were getting good grades before you overbetano, so you have to displace them. That comes with its own dynamic. So yeah, that's what happened to me. It was not easy to adjust, but I thank God that it happened the way it happened, because I was able to pass my grade 12 in very good grades, and that opened more doors for me.
And the principals those days seems to have been so full of pride. You say your results were actually plugged on a window, and the principal was making noise about you for a whole decade.
It was it was like a hall of fame. My results when they got, I think they had not had such good results in such a long time. And let me explain it this way: I have this belief that the reason why I got good grades in metric, one, it was because the people that were around me. So what was happening there in that school, technical college, so they had opened a lot of things like motor mechanics that they were doing there, electricity, and all these fancy subjects that they were doing. So they attracted a lot of students, and then some of the students who came and then they studied with us, they were coming from good schools. I remember there was kids who were coming from Coxted, some were even coming from Model C schools. So they helped us, and then this person that I remember she was coming from a school in SSC, like a multiracial school. So why later a lot like inspiring me, but no, you can do this and all of that. And we put an extra effort. So in Mount Leaf High School at that time, it was not like St. John's where people they knew. You know, there were schools that were known, but St. John's College, Mariazell, you know, all these schools as Namakama, Fundisweni, you know, it's schools as Namakama, but often the corner, you're guaranteed what you're gonna get. Like
I hope you also know Darlington. I studied at Darlington.
Yes,
that was a top-notch school. We
And
made
then-
Danjevo High School a top notch.
and then also there was a high school called Blightswood in Namakwe. That guy asked,
Yeah, we knew which schools were actually count just to.
Yeah. So but Mount Elif unfortunately was not in that list, you know. But Tina, we knew but we started from a position yet disadvantage. But if we don't do things differently, we're gonna end up like all those other kids. So we put a lot of effort, Tina, on ourselves. We were attending morning classes, we were attending his study after Saspomile school, we stay for his study. We'll attend on Saturdays and we'll come on some Sundays. And then we pushed ourselves. We went for I think Abandona these days they organized for the winter school. Tina, we went for winter school and we paid for our own winter school. Surprisingly, the winter school was actually in St. John's College. so I got my taste of St. John's College there for like 2 weeks. I was like, finally I'm getting
for 2 weeks you were there.
For 2 weeks, yes. A taste of St. John's College. So it was in St. John's College. And then there was also a spring school. So also I attended spring school. And also what we did was our teachers were helping us. We got question papers. That was in 1999. We got question papers from 1992. And we did all of them as a question papers, trying to prepare ourselves. I'm just trying to say, what I'm trying to plan to, anyway, someone is listening. Abantu, they will see that you're a neurologist and then they will think that you've always been an A student, things have always been going well for you and all of that. But what I want to say to them is that there's a lot of hard work that you need to put. Now in high school, I put a lot of hard work for me to get those good grades. And it's not about the government, it's not about the teachers, it's about you knowing that metric will open doors for you. So you need to work for very good grades for your metric, you know. So now I put a lot of effort there and it paid off because that time, it was not just me who did well, but Mount Elif and that time, they did so well. Like, I stand to be corrected, but I think 1999 was the best year ever for them. That's why they were able to put results on the window.
No, I hope you have spent time to revisit the school so that at least they call an assembly and they must actually see that this is the Mandlesilo whose results have been hanging on the window, so that they can actually attach the results to the person, and then that can actually go on, so that whatever you left there, the inspiration that you left will actually keep on going, because rural children can actually there's a lot of use of drugs, there's a lot of burglary and crime and so on. When they see that there's someone who came from these dusty villages, and here he is now, he's a neurologist, and you had a stint as an IT specialist for 6 months. So I would like to go through that a little bit, because the importance of career guidance and exposure to those things, and you happen to go to IT and then ended up being a neurologist. Just to wrap up, go through those two.
So I think the teachers, they underestimate the power and the influence they have on the students. You know, now my teachers, like for example, there was a teacher who was called Mr. Mapensela when I was in the junior. He was very strict with grammar. You know, he wanted you, if you speak a present tense, it must be a present tense. If you speak a past tense, you must speak a past tense. And you know, you must know what is an adjective. You must know what is an adverb. You must know what's a pronoun. He actually put a foundation for me, a very good foundation. Though I was not in a multiracial school, but with English, he gave me a very good foundation. So because the teachers are teaching kids in disadvantaged schools, they must not be disadvantaged now in their minds, but well, we are disadvantaged. Give the kids the best chance you can. You just don't know what can come out of that. And secondly, when I look at the kids now, and I see their subjects that they do, and I sometimes subjects I was bang umvubo. Like when I say umvubo, it doesn't.
Oh, you can't even make up where this thing is heading. Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't lead anywhere. Because Tina, you could look at your subjects and you say, okay, this person is gonna be a doctor, this person is gonna be an engineer, this person is gonna be an accountant, this person is gonna be this.
That is why I like the classification we use. You see, in our days we used to have academics, and then we had generals, and we had commercial students. And those classifications, as much as they were created by teachers, they were useful, because you could immediately tell the trend that person is going to follow.
They were very useful. In fact, Tina, I remember in our high school, because we had a lot of standard 10. So standard 10A and 10B. those were science students. So those were your maths and physics. And you didn't choose per se to go there. They always make sure they choose the top of the cream. You know, the subjects like A, you go to science. And then if you like B or C, they would be like, you know what, you must go to C. Yeah, C. That was an accounting one. But C, as much as it was an accounting one, it was different because abantu befunda C, because they were telling themselves good accounting. They were beautiful, they were dressing so well. But that's the celebrities, and they used to laugh at us.
I remember all of them. That's true.
Yeah. And then that's what I city D. You may geography, maths, but that's I say about E. Now F.
I'm a general.
There was disadvantage because it is a lot of color like English. I color because I can't in the afternoon near Pagoti. No, and that was a disadvantage. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. But I think it helped a lot because you knew that I'm going to e-commerce side from an early age. I'm going to science side from an early age. And Tina, they were doing it so well that even if maybe you're not doing a physical science, but you were still able to do geography, and maths, and that will open opportunities for you in not in this thing of today, geography, science, so I think those teachers who are listening, they really need to reevaluate that. But it's not about passing your metric, but the results that are there.
Where are you going with that metric exactly?
Yeah, where are you going? So for me, that can pass metric. Then I didn't know what to do. In medicine, people they would say, "You are so young. You should be a doctor." So I mean, I didn't know whether I really wanted medicine or not. And then I remember by the time then passed metric, I was still confused because that time to me I was going more towards biomedical technology and analytical chemistry. That was the thing that I thought was interesting, and chemical engineering. I was more interested in those things. And then, but when I passed metric, then because it's called that they were promising all of that. But
did you apply?
Sorry?
Did you apply?
There is no person, God knows this, there is no person who has ever applied for his call more than me. Because I was with this friend of mine, and we had this big thing that now she wanted to be an accountant. I was at that time was like, maybe I'll be a doctor, but we wanted to, we had big dreams. And get break the time we would take a list of universities and we write letters. We write letters every day, writing letters, and then we go and post them. In fact, even at the list of bursaries that we're applying for. Well, unfortunately, all of those bursaries, nobody wanted to give me a chance. So, but we applied in most of them. But it is advantage here to which as we forms, they will want email. I remember that time, but if we had the run, it was a lot of money to me. I didn't have money, so we were struggling working the Swiss forms back because it's now the money. I don't know how it's done now. I hope they have looked at that. But to me, it was a disadvantage. Forms. So most of them they didn't take me because of that. And the school that was about to take me, they said I'm gonna go to a preaching course. They wanted me to go to a preaching course, and I wasn't happy with that. But when I passed my metric, I didn't have schools as in Tatile with those good results. And then a friend of mine, it was the year 2000 when I went to Wusu. So year 2000 was famous because of that Y2K thing, and information technology. We didn't know if know what it was, but everyone wanted to do an IT at that time. It was like, so someone came and sold me this idea. IT was like, this is what we're going to do with IT. And I was like, bear in mind, I went to do an IT without ever touching a computer. Then as nobody knew the computer, I just knew or someone explained to me what I would be doing with IT. So I thought this is interesting. And then I remember when we were shortlisted, the people that applied were 100. And then were shortlisted, and then only 10 of us were taken. So, but I loved IT. I thought computer was fascinating me. I would look at this beautiful thing, and I would look at these websites, and I would be like, oh, this is beautiful, and all of that. But it was very short. I did it for like 6 months. My father was really struggling with the fees corner. I didn't have a bursary. And then, now this is what happened. For me to end up getting a scholarship was because someone from Nkonzweni, one born with the results, and then wabona results, and then wabanguye who told abantu abasebenzele ukuthi this person's got good results, and then I was able to get a scholarship. But that would never have happened if I had gone to St. John's College, because this person wayengibona xa ngidlula, so was staying close to indawo to a taxi rank, ndandithanda ukudlula kuye because wayikhonza ekhaya. So this person uba nandise St. John's College, I don't think that ndanzoba nalo opportunity manje ngidlule ecaleni kwakhe abone his results, and why will never have told the people abasebenzela, and they will never have applied for me. So all things work together for good. All things,
Wonderful.
all things.
Wonderful.
Bad,
Wonderful.
good, at the end, all things, they work together for good. That's what happened to me. All things finally.
If you fail to achieve this one, there's a plan that God is actually making.
Yes.
You shouldn't cry forever. And then you got a scholarship, and then you went to Cuba, which is another chapter for another day.
Yes.
But we are very grateful that you went to Cuba and you came back alive, and you specialized, and now you are helping the country. We hope you'll be able to produce more neurologists, because the field that you are in is actually a very scary field amongst us. I mean, to trace even a vagus nerve, some doctors get headache. To go and specialize in that, that's a serious thing. Can you inspire the nation? Can you encourage junior doctors who happen to be coming through the field to go and specialize and come back with even more than what you have done, and tell them that there are no baboons, there are no lions. You are here, you are back.
Yeah, look, I can say to junior doctors, the advice I always give them is that I noticed with myself that I struggled to choose the area that I'm going to specialize in. I wasn't really sure whether I want this or that. And I think the advice I can give to them is that, first of all, it's very important to know yourself, whether you're a medical person or you're a surgical person. If you know that, because for me, I noticed that even pediatrics, I was interested in pediatrics, I was interested in being like in internal medicine. So I was interested in anything that was medical, but I don't like cutting, so I don't like surgery. So I make that big that distinction, whether you're a surgical person or a medical person. Then when you are there, you can always juggle in between those, and you can find the one that you fit in. But for me, in neurology, I loved it when we were still doing anatomy. That's when I fell in love with it. In fact, I fell in love when we were doing biology in high school. That's when I noticed whenever they talk about the brain and the nerves and how they connect, it was just so interesting to me. So maybe look back even at the subjects and see which one that you really did like, which system you did like, and because that can open doors for you, you can actually go to that stream, you can relate to that stream, and also know that the sky is no longer the limit. You can study and be whatever you want. There is no field that is closed for anyone now. You can get into any field. It's so important that try to get someone who's like a role model. Try to get someone who has done what you want to be. And then you can see how they do, and see because remember, when you specialize, you're going to spend the rest of your life doing that. You can't say, okay, I'm tired of being a neurologist, now I want to go and be a cardiologist. No, you have to, that's going to be your life. So make sure it's something that you're in love with, then your life will go well. But as I'm saying, have those dreams, have big dreams, and someone always say, if your dream doesn't scare the people that we are telling, you must know that it's still a small dream. Your dream has to be big. When you tell people your dreams, people, they should laugh at you because they seem to be so big, but it's doable, and you must never look at where you are coming from and you make that as an excuse. Cut the excuses, work hard, you're going to reach the goals that you want to reach. Everything is possible in Jesus' name.
Amen. Wonderful. Before amen, let's say there are a lot of people who are watching us, including my daughter. My daughter wants to be a neurologist. I don't know what she knows about neurology, and she's fascinated about the whole thing. Someone who's actually looking at you, which subjects from matric do you need to be strong on to be accepted in MPCHB? And then after getting MPCHB, what was your path, just roughly, to become a neurologist?
All right. Okay. So in high school, the subjects that they want, you need to be strong in biology. I think they call it life sciences now. So you need to be strong in life sciences. You need to be strong in physical science and chemistry, and then you need to be strong. In mathematics they want them. So they want, if you group them, you say maths, it's life science, and then physical science. I'm not sure if physical science and chemistry they group together, but you need to do physical science and chemistry, and then obviously with English, those are the subjects that you must do. So you need those ones, and then but it's a long journey, and medicine by its nature, it's a long journey. I always say, if you want to do medicine, forget about your friends, because your friends are going to do the 3 or 4 year courses, and then they are going to start working while when they're still doing your 5th year. They're going to start driving all these cars, and all of that's going to put a pressure on you. You need to know that and be prepared, and know that's going to be, it's going to take a bit of a long time, but it's going to be worth it at the end. So you go to a medical school. You do, I think I don't know whether it's still do 5 years, but it's usually 6 years in most places. You do 6 years of medicine, and after you are done with the 6 years of medicine, then you have to do an internship. An internship is like an in-service training, So you do it so you work under supervision for like 2 years, and then you rotate in different fields. You go to gynae, you go to medicine, you go to peds, and all of these things. After 2 years, then you do what we call a community service, whereby usually you go to, most people, they usually go to a district hospital, and you work in a district hospital. And I think the year of community service is very important, because you actually see yourself working there with minimal supervision, if there's any supervision getting at all, and you are able to see like whether you learned anything or you're so on and all those things. But it makes you to be independent. Then after you are done with your community service, then you apply for a reg post. So a reg post is, when you talk of a reg post, you're talking about a space where you will be allowed to specialize in that field of specialized agri, and it's usually about 4 years that you have to do. And then after you've done those 4 years, and then that's when you can be a neurologist. So that's how the path goes. So as I say, it's a bit long, but if you start at a young age, and you're determined, trust me, you're gonna do it. I mean, even if you start in an old age anyway, if you want something, someone always say, "Can I still do this thing at this age?" Someone says, if you don't do it, and when you reach that age, you will still reach it, whether you do that or you don't do it. The difference will be when you reach that age that you want, you'll be having a degree. If you push yourself and you do it. So let us leave the excuses, guys, and try to push ourselves. This thing is doable. And if you want to specialize, I always advise people, try to specialize in. It's very difficult to start in Masomdala. If you know in your mind you want to specialize and you love a certain field, try to do it while you're still young. It becomes very difficult and very complex.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Mandlesilo. That is Dr. Simphiwe Mandlesilo, the author of the book entitled Confessions of the Pastor's Kid. Have you got a copy of the book? I've got the book with me. This is the book. I've already finished studying it. It's a very nice book, and it's reader friendly. I finished it in 24 hours reading.
Wow.
It's very interesting. Once you read one chapter, it leads to you reading the next chapter, because you get interested. What happened? And no, thank you for not only being a doctor, but also your contribution to our literature. Maybe this book will end up being part of the chains of books that will be read in some of the high schools or junior secondary schools and so on, if we really hit the freedom that we were promised. That is our hope and wish. And I also hope you will continue. The fact that you'd never had a chance for career guidance and so on, and get opportunities and so on, we try and strive to make sure that nobody goes through what we went through. Your situation is not unique. It is not only you, but most people of your era, people like us and the generation before us, they went through what you went through. But the good thing is that God actually carried us through, so that we can actually be witnesses. So that whoever is in despair, we give hope to those people and make sure that they never lose hope. Thank you for being our guest at Head to Toe with Dr. T. That show will soon come. And thank you for availing yourself. I know we've taken a lot of your time today because of the technical glitches, but we apologize for everything that happened. Apile Communications is quite grateful to you, and the nation is quite grateful to you, and we're very proud of you and your achievements, despite all the challenges that we went through. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Belen. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our winner, there's a draw that for all our YouTube subscribers. When we hit 6,000 subscribers, we promise that we will take a draw. We have got a sponsored voucher from Pure Minds, Sharon from Pure Romance. The voucher is worth 500 Rand. And that voucher, we actually done the draw using a Google automated draw. Is Nkonki Somikazi. Nkonki Somikazi. You can inbox Apile Communications. Tools will take care of your details, and then we'll give you the voucher, which was given to us courtesy of Pure Romance. That is Sharon Cornish. Thank you very much. Nkonki Somikazi, you are the winner from our YouTube subscribers. We encourage all of you to continue following us at our YouTube channel. You will see the beast there. You will see. Thank you so much, Dr. Mandlesilo. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.